In the last state budget, Republican lawmakers cut out state funding that would have gone to making repairs at American Family Field. City leaders don't want Milwaukee taxpayers to foot the bill. As deal-making continues in the Capitol, there is mention of the Brewers leaving Milwaukee. CBS 58's Emily Fannin with politics editor J.R. Ross discuss in tonight's Capitol Connection.
First, let's talk about the legislative package that's been talked about for a very long time here in the Capitol, but we still have not seen really any materials come forth about the plan that would pay for renovations at AmFam Field in order to keep the Brewers in Milwaukee to extend their lease. Now, we know about Governor Tony Evers' package that would spend $290 million, but that was quickly rejected by top Republican leaders. Now, we have something, more of like an outline from one representative in the Assembly, Representative Bob Brooks. Now, his package includes a proposed $135 million contribution from local governments over the life of the deal. That would amount to $5 million a year. But the entire package costs nearly $700 million. That is $100 million more than what has been previously discussed this summer. So it seems like it's getting more and more expensive, but this is also still just a draft. So I guess what would this even mean for Milwaukee residents right now, who also are a little upset that they don't want to keep getting squeezed after their sales tax increase just went up?
For Milwaukee specifically, I mean, you're paying toward keeping the Brewers in town, and that is a key component for Republicans. If you back up after Evers' plan was rejected by GOP leadership, they put a couple lawmakers in charge of trying to find a deal. Rob Brooks from Saukville in the Assembly, Dan Fine from Fond du Lac in the Senate. They've been meeting with Democratic lawmakers, especially ones from the Milwaukee area. What can we do? This thing has kind of started to progress to, okay, the outline is take all of the money the state gets from the Brewers, players, and personnel, those taxes, along with the visiting jock taxes. That's your state contribution. Then you have the Brewers, the team, paying $100 million more on top of what they're doing right now as their contribution. This local one, the 135, the question is, where would it come from? So as talks have progressed, Democrats have asked local officials, give us some ideas to present to Republicans these talks. I saw a memo from David Crowley, Milwaukee County Executive, his office, suggesting a couple ideas. One of them was more flexibility of the money they're getting from the sales taxes. Right now, that new sales tax goes toward your pension costs. First, the unfunded obligations, and second, these obligation bonds to cover costs. They want to say, look, maybe free up some of that money to pay for the employer contribution for retirees, right? That could free up money that then would go toward the Brewers. Maybe say no longer you have to patrol the highways, Milwaukee County, but have the state patrol do it. It's like $9 million a year. Now, in talking to Republicans, some of these are non-starters, especially like Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, the Chief of Staff, told me the idea of flexibility with the sales tax money is a no-go, not going to happen. Okay, but how do you do that? What do you structure it with to make it palatable? And the big question is going to be the entire Republican caucus. What do they want? They're going to meet later this month, early September, start figuring it out. But that local contribution is key because for Republicans, they can't stomach the idea of paying for the Brewers without locals ponying up something to help the cause.
And right, we've already saw a Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors pass a resolution. They don't want Milwaukee residents to mainly be the only ones having to pay for these renovations. Now, some Republicans actually want that. I mean, their argument is, it's not in my backyard. Why should I have to pay for this? But the argument that we hear from on the other side is that, you know, Brewers across the state, you know, there's people coming from all over to come to these games, and people are crossing across the border. So the more they spend here, you know, everyone should almost have to have a piece of the pie, should have to pay for this to keep this team here. And, you know, some people are even saying that maybe there's this possibility that the team might go elsewhere. You know, I would say, you know, when this first was introduced, not a lot of people thought that. But, you know, we had a visit from the MLB commissioner saying, we need to do this. You guys need to act now. And now some are talking about maybe the possibility that the team maybe would leave Milwaukee, but just hold your brakes there almost.
It is a common pressure tactic whenever you're talking about public money for a private team stadium. Things that I'm watching, for example, are will there be in the final deal, whenever it comes together, a clawback provision, which would say, hey, if you guys sell the team or if the team moves, we would get money back. Those things to watch, but this package is going to change a lot possibly in the coming weeks and months, but it gives you an idea of what they're looking at least State contribution, local contribution, team contribution.
And next, we're less than 2 weeks away from Republicans kind of congregating in Milwaukee for the first Republican presidential primary debate. There's still this big lingering question: will former President Donald Trump arrive on the stage? And this comes after Trump earlier in the week said he wouldn't sign this pledge to support the eventual GOP nominee if it's not him, which is a requirement in order to participate in this debate. So it's once again back in the news. We heard from former Governor Scott Walker, almost another person saying, I think he'll be there and is encouraging him to be there. But no one's really talking to Trump directly. So that's just still the big question as we look inch closer to this big debate.
Republicans like Scott Walker want him there. They need him there to kind of bring some kind of more, I don't know.
Excitement.
Yeah,
juice.
to the convention. For Trump, I will never predict what he's going to do. Other than people I talk to think if he's not on the debate stage, he'll be somewhere getting attention at the same time and drawing it away from his rivals.
Could be possibly another dueling event, but we'll see. All right, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.